Growing up as a teen was tough for me. 20 female. Not because I didn't have a place to lay my head or lack of food and junk, quite the opposite. I had food to eat whenever I wanted to. I went to a great school. Good siblings, we lived comfortably. My parents were great people, and they loved us so much. Maybe a little too much, as they were often overprotective. We were three children, two boys and a girl. As the only girl, my parents naturally did everything they could to keep me safe from the bad guys. I often saw this treatment as unfair and unjust, as they put too many restrictions on me, much more than they did on the boys. I resented them, but there was nothing I could do. While my friends gossiped about boys and the gifts they got from them or the party they were looking forward to, I had just the latest updates on the popular TV shows and the coolest songs. When I turned 20 years old, I decided to change that part of my life. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't a young, naive girl anymore. By that time, I had a boyfriend, 26 male, that I liked very much, and he was serious with me. He was clean, decent, and respectful. He had none of those awful things parents hated to see in their daughter's boyfriend. I thought my parents would like him and be proud of me for making such a great choice for my first time. I took him home. My parents were unmoved. All through dining, they stole awkward glances and spoke in hushed tones, almost like they were saying something about him that he was not worthy to hear. After we had dined, my parents told us they didn't accept him. Politely, he asked why, and they told him they didn't think I should be in a relationship yet. I was mad, but it was probably an attempt by my parents to make me lose it so he could watch me in horror as I raised my voice and yelled at them. When he was gone, I told my parents I was going to be with him, and the best thing they could do was accept us and try to be happy. They enforced their statement. They would never support me in being in a relationship, at least not until I turned 25. I talked to my boyfriend and told him my plan. He accepted and we planned toward it. One quiet morning, I left home for my boyfriend and never came back. We eloped to a small town miles away from home. At first, it was scary. I was in a new town, a new place, amid so many strangers. If something happened, the only person I could turn to was my boyfriend. It made me sick with worry. My boyfriend was a rock. He assuaged my doubts and allayed my fears by constantly reassuring me he was there for me and he would do anything to make me feel comfortable. With time, I went out of my shell and started mingling with the locals. They were nice, peaceful people. It made it easy for me to become close to them. With time, one of them offered me and my boyfriend a job at a coffee store. We were super happy. It was like a great movement for us. Every morning, we would go to the coffee shop and open it. I would serve the coffee while my boyfriend made them. After some time, we decided to enlarge the business. The owner loved the idea of a small restaurant. We started making a couple of things, but business wasn't booming as it used to before. The owner of the restaurant was unhappy with the state of business and made a couple of comments about letting us go if it meant the business would go back to normal. I loved what my boyfriend and I were doing, and it broke my heart when I thought of the possibility of losing our source of living. One day, a customer, 30 male, while drinking, made passing remarks at me. He was one of the big guys in the town, and he was cool with everyone around. He was also funny, and people were always drawn to him. He approached me and mentioned that he knew our situation. He told me he could help us get everyone to our restaurant, on the condition that I let him have his way with me. I tried to fight it at first, but then he stopped coming to our restaurant, and the numbers began to dwindle massively. We were on the verge of folding up, so I decided to stop him and let him have his way with me. With time, our restaurant regained its dying flames. We became the life of the town, and people trooped in from all corners. The business was going well, and the owner was now always smiling at us. Of course, every once in a while I had to succumb to the desires of our angel customer, but then it wasn't so bad anymore. Everything changed one evening. I had gone to serve him at his table, but he gently held back my hand and bit down on his lips. I knew he was flirting, but the moment was wrong and he had to stop. Fortunately, or should I say unfortunately for me, my boyfriend had come outside to get something. He had seen our customer holding onto my hand and had presumed our customer was trying to harass me. He challenged the customer and asked him to stay away from me. Right before leaving, our customer bellowed that he already had me and there was no need. Initially, my boyfriend took it as drunk talk, until our customer asked him to ask me. My boyfriend turned towards me, expecting me to call his bluff. But I couldn't lie. I'd never lied to anyone before, not even my parents. My boyfriend was mad with sadness and anger. He told me he regretted letting me out of my parents' cage. Then he went to the back of the restaurant, changed his clothes, and walked out. I couldn't chase after him because of the customers, so I stayed back. When I got home, I discovered that my boyfriend had left the house with all his belongings. I tried calling his phone, but it returned a voicemail. For the next few days, I searched for him all over the town, but there was no trace of him. Now, I am all alone in this town where I don't know anyone. My boyfriend is still not picking up my calls, and I can't go back home. Please, what do I do? Story 2. So 2 years ago, I made a horrible, wretched mistake and cheated on Bob with our mutual friend, John. We're all in our mid-30s. We'd been together 5 years, and both thought it was forever. I broke up with Bob out of guilt, etc., and confessed soon after. I was manic at the time. I'm bipolar. It's not an excuse, but I find it relevant. My mind was a wreck. I became obsessed with starting over in life, and John was a catalyst for this. I was very unhappy for a multitude of reasons, most of them mental health related. Bob and I were both emotionally destroyed by my cheating, the breakup, and the subsequent 8 months we lived together, financial reasons. Leaving each other, when we finally moved out, was very hard, even after being broken up so long. I never thought I would lose him completely. I know I'm a fool. Typing this out, it all sounds extra horrible. It gets worse. About 6 months after Bob and I split, I started seriously dating John. I was still living with Bob. John and I are still together. I think a large part of the reason I wanted to be with John is because I wanted to prove that my cheating wasn't for nothing, that I didn't destroy my relationship with Bob for just a worthless roll in the hay. But I did. I take all the blame, and I've had a hard time forgiving myself. I've never even entertained the notion of cheating. Ever. Not my style. I've surpassed a lot in trying to sweep everything under the rug mentally. Well, it keeps coming back. Bob is a wonderful man. We had a bond that seemed unbreakable. I miss having him as my partner and in my life. I miss his family. I miss it all. We were aligned on almost everything in life. There was so much value in our relationship, and I shit all over it. I have taken great strides to get my mental health in order. It's not perfect, but I'm much improved. This has given me clarity and the ability to really see my mistakes and all. I can see now how being manic affected my decision making. Again, not an excuse. Blessing and a curse. Over the past few months, Bob's stopped speaking to me. We would casually text occasionally before that, though it dwindled as time went on. Now it's radio silence. We have pets together. Well, we did, and he didn't even reply to a text about them. If you couldn't already tell, I'm not happy with John. We have our issues, serious issues. Whatever, but mostly he's just not Bob. So now I feel guilty about these feelings because of John. More guilt. I can't get Bob out of my head. I've even been dreaming of him. I'm quite sad. In a perfect world, I know it's not, Bob and I would sort all this out and get back together. I'm afraid he hates me. I'm afraid the notion of maybe we'll find each other again one day is false. Edit. I still can't even wrap my head around the fact that I had the capacity to hurt someone, especially Bob, like this. The guilt is overwhelming and seemingly unforgivable. Can anyone offer any hope or help here? I haven't been able to move on, mentally or otherwise. I'm in therapy and this is often discussed to no avail. I feel like an awful, stupid, foolish, hurtful person. Comments. You can never have the relationship with Bob. He had to watch you date the guy you cheated on him with. Even if you two get back together, it would never be the same. Take this as a lesson. You're not going to end up with either of them. It's time to start over and move on. I'm going to argue that you still have work to do on your mental health if you're continuing your relationship with John while pinning over a relationship you chose to end 2 years ago. Please leave Bob alone. If he has finally been able to cut ties and move forward, he deserves that. No, you don't deserve to be miserable forever, but you likely will be until you end things with John and commit yourself to actually moving forward as well. He is better off without you. Please leave him alone. Cheating is not a mistake, it's a choice, one you made. If you are suffering now, it's self-inflicted. If he's moved on from you, great, good for him. don't pollute his life again.